Welcome to The Explainer. Have you ever stared down a chaotic mountain of business data and just thought, how on earth do I turn this mess into actual crystal clear operational insights? Well, you're in exactly the right place. Today, we're tearing down the absolute foundational building blocks of how we actually ingest and map process mining data.
So let's just kick things off with a fundamental question. We all know process mining can do some pretty incredible things for optimizing a business, right? But what actually fuels it? What is that essential, underlying ingredient that makes the whole thing work in the first place?
The answer? Event logs. They are literally the ultimate organizing solution for your wildly disparate business data. Think about it. The events that make up a complete business case usually don't live in one neat little spreadsheet. No way. They're scattered across multiple different systems, running at the same time or one after the other, usually leaving a massive trail of headaches behind them. Event logs act like a magnet, pulling all those scattered data points together into a single cohesive narrative.
Okay, let's dive right into this blueprint. Here's what we're assembling today. First, the process mining foundation. Then, the three mandatory fields. After that, event versus case attributes. Then we'll cover adding financials and resources, and finally, we'll wrap up with AI mapping using Copilot.
All right, part one, the process mining foundation.
To even get started with ingestion, there are exactly three foundational rules or mandatory fields that you absolutely have to remember. Just three. That's it. I like to call this the holy trinity of process mining: case ID, activity name, and timestamps. Without these three specific elements present in your event log, the entire analytical structure just completely collapses. The system simply cannot analyze your data without them. It's a non-starter.
Moving on to part two, let's break down those three mandatory fields.
So what exactly do these fields do? Let's start with case ID. This is hands down the most important component of the whole shebang. Think of it as a golden thread tying all your disparate systems together. It's identifying the main object your process is acting on. Maybe that's an order ID, a patient ID, or a part ID. Now, sometimes one system of record might actually be missing this primary field. When that happens, you've got to play matchmaker. You have to map corresponding fields to tie the process together, like linking a CRM ID to an internal order ID, just so the system can seamlessly correlate those events.
Next up, we have the activity name. These basically describe the individual steps happening in your process. Now, an absolutely crucial warning here. These names must be unique across your different systems. If an activity name like process order pops up in two totally separate systems, the process mining software is going to look at that and consider it one single step. To prevent that kind of collision, you need to append the system name or some other distinguishing identifier to make every single activity name completely unique. And our third mandatory field is timestamps. These indicate the exact, literal time an event took place. The system is actively hunting for both start and end timestamps so it can analyze the chronological flow of your data. But keep in mind, in some systems, the start time and the end time might be recorded as entirely separate activities. That means they might not even show up on the same row in your event log. So those are your non-negotiable basics.
Which brings us to part three, event versus case attributes. Because you might be wondering, what happens if a case attribute changes mid-process?
To answer that, we really have to grasp the fundamental difference between event-level and case-level attributes. It's a key distinction. Event-level attributes contain specific, differing values for each individual step. They're dynamic. They change as the process moves forward, like the specific department handling a step, or maybe a fluctuating order amount. Case-level attributes, on the flip side, assign a single, uniform analytical value to the entire journey. They represent the whole case, start to finish. Now, what's really interesting about how the system handles this kind of data is how it interprets those variations. Let's say you're looking at a region log. For a specific case, it starts as south, but halfway through it changes to east. If we define this as a case-level attribute based on the first event, the process mining system uses an interpretation mechanism to pull that uniform value, south, from the chronologically first event. It then applies south to the entire case, analytically, completely ignoring those later variations. Or conversely, you could configure it to pull from the last event, which would lock in east for the whole case.
All right, let's move into part four, adding financials and resources. Now that our foundation is rock solid, we can start adding in the architectural details, how we actually track costs and revenue. And guess what? Financial data follows the exact same logic we just talked about. Financial per event captures the numeric value that changes for each individual activity, like accumulating courier service costs step by step. The system evaluates these by calculating the sum,
mean, minimum, or maximum across those events. Financial per case, however, assigns a single numeric value that is locked in for the whole case, using that exact same interpretation mechanism to pull the number from either the very first or the very last event.
Beyond the money, we have resource attributes. Defining these helps you identify exactly who or what is executing a specific step in your process. The crucial point here is defining whether the step is being handled by a human resource or a technical resource. This data point is absolutely vital. It's how you evaluate the true efficiency of your human workforce versus your automated systems.
And that brings us to our final piece, Part 5, AI Mapping with Copilot.
Now, I know what you're thinking. Managing all these logs manually sounds incredibly tedious, right? Well, that is exactly why we turn to the master builder, Microsoft Copilot. Copilot automates the heavy lifting of data mapping. It basically acts as a magical magnifying glass for your data. You just ask Copilot questions about your process, and it instantly analyzes your log, identifying exactly which columns are present in your process data. It literally saves you a massive amount of manual review time.
And this brilliantly illustrates where AI truly shines in process mining. When you're finally ready to map those attribute types and data types we've been talking about, Copilot proactively suggests the mappings for you. All you have to do is quickly approve them, and the system automatically structures your event log for your final review. It takes a complex, headache-inducing configuration task and turns it into a simple, straightforward approval workflow.
So, let's wrap this up. The absolutely crucial point to take away today is this. Better, more accurate data mapping directly equals deeper, more actionable operational insights. You now know the mandatory fields, you know the difference between case and event attributes, and you know how AI can dramatically speed up the whole ingestion process. So the only question left to ask is, are your event logs ready to unlock your business's hidden insights? Take a good look at your data today, see if you have that holy trinity ready to go, and start mapping your way to a vastly more optimized process. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer,